The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so I wanted to speak about Ben Whittaker because he had a fight recently against, Brian Suarez from Argentina, and he made very quick work of him. He made routine work of Brian Suarez. He got him out of there in the first round, devastating knockout. And truth be told, man, I gotta give Ben Whittaker a little bit of credit here. I know people don't want to always do that with Ben Whittaker because he's a polarizing figure, and there's no in between Ben Whittaker. You either love Ben Whittaker or you hate Ben Whittaker. He has this way about him of drawing reactions and stirring the emotions of the boxing fans and the boxing community, both in the UK, the USA, and the world over. So that's just who he is. But he's good for boxing. Whether you love him or hate him, Ben Whittaker is good for the sport of boxing. Now, if we could go back to late 2024, he fights Liam Cameron. Liam Cameron's fighting him tooth and nail. A lot of people thought Liam Cameron was winning that fight. The fight, gets stopped on a technical decision because both boxers fell out the ring. A lot of people felt like Ben Whittaker initiated that, and so people looked at Ben Whittaker as a quitter, a hype job, and a fighter that was gonna be exposed very soon. And ever since that moment, you got to give Ben Whittaker his just due, because ever since then, he hasn't gone past the second round. He's got 3 fights, 3 stoppages, albeit against very soft competition. I mean, Cameron, that was a good win because he had to exercise some demons. But, Benjamin Gavazzi, Brian Suarez, these are the kind of guys that, he's expected to do demolition jobs on. Suarez had been stopped 3 previous times before this fight, right? So he's doing what he's supposed to do, and he's rebounded in a great way, and he shows mental resilience and mental toughness, but he has been match soft. So the 2 things can be true. We can be adults. We can compartmentalize things. 2 things are true. That being said, as far as, looking at Ben Whittaker in the big picture, what's a realistic route for him in the fight game, as far as fights are concerned. And, you look at the rankings, you look at where he's ranked. His highest ranking is number 3 in the WBC, and his second highest ranking is number 5 in the IBF. So when you look at some of the guys ranked in and around Ben Whittaker, there's a lot of fights to me that make sense. I would say the number 1 fight that makes sense for Ben Whittaker, to me, would be like a guy like Willie Hutchinson, who I know is a Frank Warren fighter. But Willie Hutchinson's a guy that's, experienced, been at a good level, fought Joshua Buatsi. He's got a good rangy style. And that's a fight that if he's able to win that fight, it gets him pushed up the rankings. And, Hutchinson's, he's a fighter that is familiar to the British audience. He's a Brit himself. He's from Scotland. So that being said, I like that fight. Do Willie Hutchinson. And if you can't listen, if the matchmakers really trust him, if Andy Lee really trusts him, then I think there's a fight that's even more lucrative than Willie Hutchinson and better than Willie Hutchinson. And that would be with the guy that beat Willie Hutchinson. Because right there, ranked number 2 in the WBC title picture is, former Olympian himself and a guy that a lot of people felt, myself included, would be a world champion, and that's none other than Joshua Buatsi. Joshua Buatsi versus Ben Whittaker, I think, does amazing business in the UK. And let's have it right about Joshua Buatsi. It feels like, his career has passed him by a little bit in terms of being what he was touted to be. Doesn't mean it's necessarily over for him, but, he hasn't been performing well in his last couple of fights. He fought Zach Parker in a fight that a lot of people, myself included, felt he lost, and was very lucky to get the decision. So my thing is, I think that fight would actually benefit both fighters, because you got Ben Whittaker, who's now stepping in there with a fellow Olympian, a fellow fighter that is a top contender, a very recognizable name in the UK. And I would say Joshua Buatsi is probably one of the best fighters in the light heavyweight division that's not a champion. So he's one of the best fighters you can possibly fight before you challenge for a title, right? So that fight to me makes a lot of sense. And if you're Buatsi, if you're able to snatch the O of a Ben Whittaker, that puts you right there for a world title shot. and you're going to be beloved by a lot of people because a lot of people don't like Ben Whittaker. He's very polarizing to people in the fight game, and especially in the UK, because a lot of British fighters, they're not outspoken. A lot of British fighters, they're not like Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker really has more of the personality and the temperament of an American fighter. You know, it feels like, yeah, he was born in the UK. He's from the Midlands. He's from the Black Country. He's from West Brom, but he's really an American. He's really a Yank, right? So that's why, you know, he's off-putting to a lot of people. But I think that fight would be great. Honestly, if I could be the commissioner of boxing, obviously I would like to see Ben Whittaker fight guys like Atif Overton, who's fighting on the Angelo Leo Rais Aleem undercard as a co-main event. I think that'd be a dynamite fight. I'd like to see fight Najee Lopez, who's also another young gun on the come up. But I think those fights will make more sense in the future, you know, as far as world title fights and things like that, and maybe unification fights as the old guard moves on from the division. But for me, I think the fight that makes the most sense for Ben Whittaker is Joshua Buatsi. There's no fight that ticks more boxes. Joshua Buatsi's British. He's an Olympian. He's fought at a very high level, and he's a guy that a lot of people, the stock is low on him right now. You know, so maybe that's the kind of fight that's going to get Buatsi up and really have him fight into the best of his abilities. Because I'll be honest, I was a big Buatsi advocate. I like Buatsi. You know, I had the opportunity while I was out in the Bay Area last year with Yugo Osaki in camp. I had a chance to watch him work. You know, I like Buatsi. I got a chance to talk to him and get to know him a little bit. He's a good dude, but he just hasn't panned out to the way that I thought he would, you know, when he first came out. So this might be the kind of fight that gets him up. And like I said, Ben Whittaker needs to be in there with somebody who has similar pedigree to him, who's a step up in class, but who isn't necessarily like a world champion yet. I feel like Buatsi fits the description so well. And I'll say this, if Ben Whittaker can do to Joshua Buatsi what he's been doing to Benjamin Gavassi and Liam Cameron, if he's able to do a demolition job on him, let's say like in 7 rounds or less, then I think you could say, you know what, okay, maybe Ben Whittaker hasn't fought the best guys in the weight class yet. Maybe you may say your reservations about him, but if he can stop a guy like Buatsi and beat up on him, then I feel that puts Ben Whittaker on that level where you could fight for a world title. You could fight, you know, I guess you could say a vacant title now because Benavidez is going to cruiserweight. So if that belt goes vacant, maybe you could fight for that vacant WBC title. Maybe you could fight Buatsi for the vacant title because, you know, I haven't heard anything about Artur Beterbiev. He seems to be just enjoying life and not really doing much for now. He's getting old. You know, he's got some nicks. He trains really hard. He's probably injured. But, yeah, there's a lot of possibilities for Ben Whittaker out there. And I do think if you're talking about skill set, talent, ability, marketability, all those things, we've seldom seen fighters like Ben Whittaker from the UK. Even, you know, and that's my opinion. You know, I think he's a very, very talented fighter. He's got the amateur pedigree to prove that. You ask any coach that's been in the gym with him, like Sugar Hill, Andy Lee, fighters that have sparred him, fighters that have fought him. Everyone's saying the same thing. So everyone can't be lying. You know, it's got to be the truth in quantity. I feel like with Ben Whittaker, he'll go as far as he takes it serious. You know, boxing is a choice sport. You know, I've been learning that myself. You know, just being here in camp with Angelo Leo as he gets ready for his world title fight, and I've been sparring some of the professional fighters. I've sparred like 14 rounds this camp, and so what I'm learning about myself and learning about boxing, and I've always known this about boxing, but you learn it on a deeper level when you're really in there. It's a choice sport. Everything's a choice. You make the choice to fight harder. You make the choice to go to the gym and get an extra session. You make the choice to eat right. You know, you make the choice to sharpen your skills and your flaws in the gym and be honest about where you're really at and why you're not doing certain things in the ring. It's a choice. So I feel like with Ben Whittaker, for him more so than most fighters, it's all up here. Even Terrence Crawford told him, and he mentioned it in the press conference that, you know, Terrence Crawford told Ben Whittaker, he said, look, you're a really skillful, talented fighter, but, you know, you play with your food too much. You play with your food way too much. And ever since he told him that, Ben Whittaker has been playing around and doing all that showboating. He's been knocking these guys out that he's supposed to knock out. And so I think he has a chance to be on that upper echelon level of the light heavyweight division. When I look at the next generation or the next guard of the light heavyweight division, you know, past this Bivol, Beterbiev era, I'm looking at guys like Ben Whittaker and Atif Overton and Najee Lopez and Paulo Okoso and these kind of guys to really stick their flag in the ground and create great nights and great fights for one of boxing's true glamour division. So yeah, if it can't be Buatsi, Anthony Yard, he's got. Whittaker has the luxury of having so many just British names that he can pick from, that are ranked and that have a profile. So he's in a very good position. So I'll leave it at that, man. I can't really make much of the Brian Suarez fight. Brian Suarez has been knocked out 3 times before Ben Whittaker. So Ben Whittaker did what he's supposed to do. But credit to him for showing mental resilience and mental toughness after he showed a lot of weakness and a lot of just mediocrity in that first Liam Cameron fight. He's come back better, and now I think it's time to step him up, and we got to see what we got because he's 28 years old. He's not old, but he's not young, so time is of the essence. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Ben Whittaker. You guys can leave yours down below. Make sure you guys take time to subscribe, and like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. You want to say hello? Say hello. Can you say hi, Boxy Morals?
Hi, Boxy Morals.
Can you say true school sports?
Truth? Oh.
Can you say true school sports? Say true school sports. Can you say the untouchable? Can you say the homo boxing? The homo boxing.